Oh, it feels like ages. I feel like I've forgotten how to. I don't know. Something feels a bit odd, but I'm sure I'll just get back into the swing of it. So we're going to look at. I can hear myself. Hold up. I can hear myself. Did I say I'd forgotten how to do it? Something along those lines. I think I may start again. Hello. God bless you. Everything's under control, etc. Right. We're going to look at refuting a well-known heresy, e.g. oneness, modalism, Unitarianism kind of deal. And we're going to look specifically in respect of one verse, although if anybody does have a pen and a can-do attitude, there are far too many references in support of Trinitarianism, but I will whiz through them and I will paste them into the description box at a secret date, which is potentially today. So if they're not there by the time you get to see this, I don't mean you people in the live chat, then yeah, let me know, because #reasons. Let's get through it and then we'll be on the other side of it. Okay. Jesus said to him, "Have I been so long with you, and yet you have not come to know me, Philip? He who has seen me has seen the Father. How can you say, 'Show us the Father'?" So, just before we look into John 14:9, we're going to just pause and remind ourselves that nowhere in the New Testament did Jesus ever say that he was the same person as the Father. There are, I am in my Father and my Father is in me, etc. But no, he never says he is the same as the Father, the same person, I should say. Nobody in the New Testament ever calls him Father. He is, of course, the Son of the Father, as it were. And that's obviously a distinction of personhood. And you can just pause and rewind once this is processed. Daniel 7:9-14, Matthew 28:19, John 1:1, Luke 10:21, John 18, John 5:17-18, John 6:38, John 10:17, John 10:30, John 17:5, 2 Corinthians 13:14, Galatians 1:3, Philippians 2:6-11, Hebrews 1:3, Hebrews 6, Hebrews 8-12, 1 John 1:3, 2 John 1:3, Revelation 5:13, and more. Right, so we've got that shopping list out of the way, as it were. So people who hold to oneness often, regularly, like clockwork, quote the passage that I read initially, and they usually bring in John 10:30 and just kind of slide right into it as if it's one long quote, as it were. Yeah, it's only by taking them both out of their contexts and like sandwiching them together that those who advocate for oneness can take a modalistic kind of inference from it. So with John 10:30, Jesus never says, "I am the Father." He says, "He who has seen me has seen the Father." And therefore, the proponents of oneness are confusing his representation, as it were, of the Father. And that's clear from John 1:18, John 14:6, and Hebrews 1:3 again, with the assumption that Jesus is the Father that Unitarians, of course, hold to. I don't know why. Anyway. So, exegesis, meaning what meaning we take out of the scripture. I don't mean take it out and stick it in a box. I mean what we infer, what we draw, what is clearly there in the text, and what the Holy Spirit helps us to discern. So there are a number of scriptural refutations and ways of handling this. It's not only Unitarians who use it, but it is mainly Unitarians. Yeah, mainly. So the context, that's the most obvious feature of exegesis that we look to initially. Hopefully we don't get caught out in the reading what they ask us to read, but we look a little bit before, a little bit after, etc. So in verse 6, he says, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father but by me. So in the next verse, which is 7, he explains that if they had known him, they would have known the Father too. That's clearly like a distinction of persons. He then says to the disciples, from now on you know him and have seen him. Therefore, right, by knowing him, they have known and have seen the Father. So that's the parallelism, as we call it theologically, between have known and have seen. So Philip still doesn't understand that by knowing Christ, they know and see the Father, or have known and have seen. So he asks Christ, show us the Father. This is verse 8. Jesus then corrects him, reiterates what he said, that by seeing him, they can see. Like there's no, that is, they can know or recognize the invisible Father, i.e. verse 9. So context-wise, it's pretty self-evident, or it's obvious. By knowing and seeing Christ as the only way to the Father, they really could see and know the invisible Father. That's John 1:18, Colossians 1:15, 1 Timothy 6:16. So the Old and the New Testaments show us that the Son is and has been for all eternity existing and subsisting as, it's redundant to say the most perfect, as the perfect and exact representation, i.e. character, and that's the Greek, so there's a different kind of spelling, of the nature of the, no, there is a Greek word, but I just can't do it to you, I'm so sorry. The very nature of the Father, i.e. of him, not as him. And that's as of Hebrews 1:3, even if you check with the QnA to corroborate, because I just can't do it to the Greek-speaking people. I'm sorry. So when they, the disciples, and like everybody, sees Christ, they see the only way to and an exact representation of the unseen and the invisible, and up until that point, quite like the unapproachable Father. Christ makes him known, he exegetes him, he explains him, and that's at least according to John 1:18. And therefore he, i.e. Christ, has made known or brought news of the invisible God. We can't hope to have any relationship with the Father except through Christ. That's explicit, like except through the Son. Whoever denies the Son does not have the Father. The one who confesses the Son has the Father also. Like if you're not seeing there's two distinct people being referenced there, I don't know what, I don't know how, this is what I mean by I say I don't know how they believe this. In John 14:10, explicitly Christ differentiates himself from the Father when he says this: the words that I say to you, I do not speak on my own initiative, but the Father abiding in me does his works. Like there's just far too many, like linguistically, that's just concrete, it's done. So never, nowhere, at any time does the New Testament state that Christ or anyone else is the Father. Hopefully that's done that a little bit of justice. And then we would move on to the fact that the Father is spirit. He's prophesied as otherwise, but we won't really go into that because it doesn't do anything for this polemic or this argument. When Christ says, he who has seen me has seen the Father, the only thing his disciples literally saw at that time when he said, those who have seen me, was the physical body of Christ. The word made flesh is what they saw. So Trinitarians and people who believe in oneness all agree that the Father is invisible. He does not have a physical body. And therefore, Christ couldn't have meant that by seeing him, like by seeing Christ, they were literally seeing the Father, i.e. the fleshly representation. That's something else to take into account. And then we can look linguistically. So first person and third person personal pronouns and verb references. So throughout John 14 and John 16, Christ explicitly, clearly, with clarity, differentiates himself from the Father. And he does this by using first person personal pronouns, e.g. me, I, mine, etc. The verb references that he uses to refer to himself, and he uses third person personal pronouns, e.g. he, him, and his. And he uses those verb references when he refers to the Father. So John 14:16, I will ask, kego eroteso, possibly. Otherwise, just ignore that. First person is all you need to know. I will ask the Father, and he, e.g. third person, will give you another, so now we're going into, another helper, that he may be with you forever. So in this same way, which is a bonus for Trinitarians, Christ also differentiates himself from the Holy Spirit, who the helper is. Then, further down the passage, we see that that's who he is referring to. And he also differentiates the Spirit from the Father. So that's also handy. And then we have the different prepositions. So throughout John 14, 15, 16, Christ distinguishes himself by using different prepositions. They show a relationship between them, i.e. between the Father and the Son. And we see that a denotation of essential distinction. So Christ says in John 14:6 and verse 12, no one comes to the Father but through me. He who believes in me, I am going to the Father. So you see the directional, like the prepositions there. Paul also most frequently uses different prepositions to differentiate between the Father and Christ. So Ephesians 2:18, Paul says that by the agency of the Son, we, e.g. Christians, have access to the Father by means of the Spirit, another Trinitarian or Godhead or Trinity reference. For through him, e.g. Christ, we both have our access in one Spirit, capitalized S, to the Father. So only by literally closing your eyes, sticking your fingers in your ears and going, like, that's the only way that I can see that modalists can, get around those details to establish from John 14:9 any kind of modalism. And then lastly, in terms of exegesis, John 14:23, the first person plurals. So we will come, we will make. And in 23 of John 14, Christ himself declares, if anyone loves me, he will keep my word, and my Father will love him. And to him we will come. I just can't do the Greek. No, I'm not doing it. And an abode with him. We will make, he says. That's like the syntax of that sentence is obviously we will make our abode with him. So, against the idea of oneness, Christ specifically used two first person plural indicative verbs, e.g. we will come and we will make. I really should read out. I feel like, I'm going to read out one of my essays soon that covers some of this. And those who do advocate for oneness just, they have to really just cherry pick, like just take out, especially verse 9, They just take out what fits, and then, you know, rather than context, they have pretext, which they, you know, just add modalistic, Unitarian, oneness. I would say exegesis, but it's eisegesis. It's putting into the text what's not really there. So, like, just to wrap that up a hot second. Christ is always identified as the Son, never as the Father in the New Testament. Of course, in Isaiah, a child will be born to us and he will be called Eternal Father. That, like, I can just put that to bed right now. He will be called God. Like, that's the long and the short of that. No one in the New Testament ever addresses him as Father or addresses him as the Holy Spirit. In fact, the Holy Spirit and the Spirit of Christ are both referenced in Romans 8:9 within the same passage. So another distinction and a differentiation. Christ himself never referred to himself as the Father. He also never referred to himself as the Holy Spirit. He primarily, more often than not, 80 times in fact, referred to himself as the Son of Man, which goes back to Daniel 7. Have I done a video about that? No, but I've done the assignment on it, so stay tuned as well. Yeah, Son of Man is his most used title for himself. So in John 14:9, Christ expresses and like declares to his disciples that he is the only way, and therefore he is a representation of the Father. We see also that, I can't think of the verse off the top of my head, but he is the image of the unseen. It pleased the Father that the fullness of the Godhead reside in him bodily. But that's a different story. They could see, e.g., I mean, the eyes of the heart, as it were, are referenced also, but they can see, i.e., they can know who the Father is through Christ, through his word. Like it I don't know, it just makes sense to me. And because of the hypostatic union, because Christ is presented as both God and man, the image and the perfect representation of the Father, i.e. John 1:18 and Hebrews 1:3, like, is there before them. And that, I think, is like, yeah, it was, I don't know, Philip's, it's good for us. Let's put it that way. So before he was incarnate, in his eternal pre-Christ, pre-incarnate form, he had eternal communion and glory with the Father. So the Son is clearly presented as a high priest, a divine priest, who reveals through his very existence and obviously through his words and his like miracles and his teachings, he reveals fully the Father to mankind. He's the one and only mediator. Full stop. Don't let me get started on anything like that. Between man and God, i.e. the Father, because that's another confusing thing that is taken out of like context somewhat. So the pretext of John 14:9 that is used by oneness is based on pre-existing unipersonal assumptions on their part, which actually nullify Christ's own words when he says, if I alone testify about myself, my testimony is not true. There is another, e.g., other than the one himself of whom he is speaking, who testifies of me. And I know that the testimony which he gives about me is true. And that's speaking about the Father. That's like one of the most clear distinctions. And if, like I say, you have to ignore that. You have to you have to have a very teensy Bible with like, I don't know, 7 or 8 passages in it, copy pasted, maybe on, I don't know. Anyway, who is the liar except the one who denies that Jesus is the Christ? This is the Antichrist, the one who denies the Father and the Son. So by denying that Jesus is Christ, you are denying both the Father and the Son, says 1 John 2:22. It then goes on in verse 23 to say, whoever denies the Son does not have the Father. The one who confesses the Son has the Father also. And I believe Well, I just believe. I could have stopped that sentence there, but I believe that's yeah, you just confess him, as believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, confess with your mouth, and boom, kind of thing. I don't know, that's not quite the translation, but it's the one I'm going with. So stick it in pipes. And yeah, that's that. So I'm back in the room. All right. Any questions? Obviously, I'm here. It's good to see you. I could see you like scooting past when I was looking at the notes. I feel like maybe my assignments, I did one of my metaphysics ones once, and I could feel the energy draining out of the live chat. But I might, you're right, Mr. Brown, I might give like a formal warning, as it were, and then do it anyway pretty soon. Because why not? That's what I ask myself. I don't hear any answer. So, I don't know what to say. That's it. When I say any questions, looking at you, Mr. Brown, I don't mean any questions, like as in the, speed of light or anything. Like any questions vaguely on oneness and twisting of the scriptures, etc. Nice, Jeff. I like that kind of thing. When it comes down to it, it is pretty important. I know that Muslims are keen on, explaining the significance of the Arabic, which is kind of fair enough, unless it's blatantly denying like Muslim scholarship interpretation. However, like to go to the Greek is, it makes sense. The topic was, Mr. Brown, refuting oneness, i.e. Unitarians, like modalistic kind of people, when they use John 14:9 to try to say that Christ is the Father. And then they're just on their own, basically, standing there dribbling. I'm joking. I didn't say that. I kind of did, but yeah. Yeah, it would be, Jeff. Oh, go on then, whatever. Just talk to me, people, because, oh, no, I might get a snappy video out of it. She said, not hopefully. All right, Tommy Noble. Good one. And I think I've broken my thumb or severely sprained it. So I look very positive quite often. Yeah. Anyway, the angel of the Lord, the angel of Yahweh, is seen a few times in the Old Testament, not to be confused with the angel of the Lord who appeared. An angel of the Lord rather who appeared. I think it's in Luke. At the heralding of the nativity, because that doesn't really make sense, and there are some mistranslations. I'm coming to you, Mr. Brown. So the angel of Yahweh, there are many instances, and Tommy, I've done a video. If you look on this channel for Trinity in the Old Testament, the angel of Yahweh, I feel like that's what I called it. If you remind me in the real life comment section, the one down there, I'll post you the link to it, but it covers it. So he speaks as if he is Yahweh, and he also speaks of Yahweh, which is good for pluralists, Trinitarians also, that's good. There's a split theologically between those who view him as, like, he can be seen as the pre-incarnate Christ and the Holy Spirit also, but most certainly he is God. It's quite it can be a convoluted argument to like hammer it home, but I've already done it in a video, so I don't want to. I can't. Not off the top of my head. It's pretty wordy, like scripturally. So yeah, he fits in as a member of the Godhead, the Trinity. Yep, that's mentioned in there. That rings a bell from my assignment, Tommy. But yeah, it's all in there because it's all that I've seen the face of God and lived kind of stuff, but also his own speech, and also what Yahweh says of the angel. Listen to his voice, for he will not pardon your transgressions. But we know that only God can pardon those transgressions. It says that sort of thing. All right, Abbo? Long time. Yes, definitely, Ivan. There's pre-incarnate Christ, but without the, yeah, at that point not made lesser than the angels and not emptied of himself and that kind of stuff. Thanks, Carol. I see. Unfortunately, I can't. I couldn't hope to possibly wash up properly until my thumb is healed. So, never mind. But no one's going to see it, even though I just grasped myself up. Yes, a Christophany. That's all right, Tommy. I will definitely give you the link if you remind me in the comments, because I do have a piece of paper but no pen, and I can't bend my thumb properly without a little bit of pain. But you want to see the other guy who was a moth. He didn't make it. Isaiah, random guy. I feel like without getting my notes up, which I do have, it's a good few pages of notes. So I feel like all relevant verses are, if they're not all in there, it means that they're covered somehow, like the argument. Sorry, I could never forget you, Mr. Brown. However, I have immediately forgotten your question because I didn't read it in the first place. Sorry, but I've got an injury. So please scroll up, copy and paste it down again. I'll be your best friend. Thank you. Cherokee, right, love. Oh, I like the WEB. I've got the Berean. Where have I got it? Next door, like in the other room. And I've got a quick 6-7 Bibles up there, but I do like the WEB. I just like it when it says Yahweh, that it should say Yahweh. You know, I'm old-fashioned like that. I just like it. I'm not Jewish, obviously, by the way. Although sometimes the KJV can be like pretty, like flowery, like nice. And the one before that, the Great Bible of 1580, 60, something like that. I have got a scan of that, and it's just mayhem. There's no chapter and no verses. Oh, sugar, Jordan. Yeah, get back to work, madam. Little time traveler. It's always good to see you. Yes, exactly. That's it. I should do a video on the Tetragrammaton, on the YHWH. It's really quite, I mean, it'd be a short vid, but there's some deep stuff in there. Unless the good source is the Bible, it doesn't matter to me. Same with any of it just doesn't matter to me. Like it's similar for Christ. The blood is red. That's all we need to know. Right. Somebody told you yesterday that. Oh, I see what you mean, Mr. Brown. Okay, so Mr. Brown, for anyone who can't see the chat, is saying that Bloodfire told him yesterday that when God was walking in the cool of the garden, e.g. Eden, that was Christ. And Mr. Brown's asking, is that true? There's no reason to suppose it isn't. Obviously, it's not explicitly referenced, and I believe that exegesis came about as the result of the you cannot see the face of God and live kind of vibe, as it were, and the unapproachability of God. I'm trying to scan back through. Yes, they've already eaten, so there's already a separation. Metaphysically has taken place. They don't know that. The reader doesn't know that yet when they hear his voice calling out to them, because he says, like, why are you hiding? So the separation has taken place. They've broken the, count them, one commandment. Wasn't looking good even back in them days. But yeah, so that's I think that's why, because technically prior to that, when God breathes into the nostrils, and that there's no issue with that being the triune God there in Eden, because at that point it's paradise and there is no sin, because he says, I will not have sin in my presence. See, so like that's what I would say if it was relevant to the argument, Mr. Brown. But I understand that people who haven't already accepted Jesus, it might be a bit of a stretch for them. Yeah, it's all right, Miss Brown. It's just real life. I was thinking, thinking, don't grow up, it's a trap. I wasn't. Well, I have thought that many times. I was thinking, when I was a kid, it seemed to me that people only died like probably once every, I don't know, 5 years or something. I'm not sure if it's because you know more people, as it must be, obviously. But even within my family, like I've been having to deal with some like legal affairs because of the death of a family member. And even in that short period, which isn't even a year yet, 3 other family members have died because it's all like to do with an estate and that kind of probate stuff. And I was just like, is there an email going around and I've just missed the memo? Like people are just leaving early to avoid the, like, I don't know. Like, all right, lockdown, fair enough. Why does that mean everyone just, like, not even COVID-y type shizzle? Oh, Mr. Brown, I'm really, really sorry to hear that. I won't read it out just for the, oh, yeah, when I see you, we compare notes. I've got some stories. But yeah, then there's some like just sketchy, I don't want to do it because I don't want the bid to get misinformation struck or whatever you call it. But yeah, should get a case to get, try and get the medical records and see if it had ever been an issue beforehand. But it's pretty disgusting, all the things that are going on, and nobody really. It's a lot of smoke and mirrors and a lot of, oh, look over there. And then it's all still going on. Yeah, Ivan, I think you may be watching TV shows about London. There's not a lot of police on the streets of London. I was in an area of East London, I don't know, maybe a week ago, 10 days ago. And there were 3 police, like at Speaker's Corner, it's like an anomaly because it's, it's a royal park. But anyway, I was in this regular area. No, it's not a rich area or anything like that. And there were 3 policemen in uniform on foot. I say policemen, I think one was a woman. Either way, people were stopping, like gulping. Not because they're thinking, oh, has there been a crime? They're just like, they've got legs. You only see them in cars. Like you only see them in meat wagons, really. You see some sort of the plastic ones, like the community safety enforcement, something. They're not real ones. But you very, very rarely see old Bill on foot. Just doesn't happen anymore. It's bizarre. Like, you do like, outside Parliament, for example, like, where important people go, but not just for run-of-the-mill, like, plebs, as it were. Yeah, it was enough that I was even thinking, oh, I ain't seen that in ages. It just is like a little bit of nostalgia. And nostalgia isn't what it used to be, I can tell you that. Right. Yes, the stormtroopers, Sunny Sparkles. Yeah, it's about that. And they're allowed to have like a, I think semi-automatic machine gun type efforts when they're protecting important people. Oh, I do. No, Ivan, I know what you mean, but Busker attends all like demonstrations and rallies and protests and all that stuff. So yeah, the police there are visible because for one, there's going to be usually a camera there, and they've got to have a visible presence when they're, when there's maybe some old women protesting about knitting patterns or whatever. You've got to come out in force. But yeah. Sorry, random guy. Have I ignored you accidentally? Is that never mind for me? Sorry if that's true. Yeah, I got carried away with the bad news and the Star Wars references. But yeah, if there's anything I can do, Miss Fan, I have no idea what that could be, but hit me with it. If you're there Sunday, I will be there Sunday. I just I got a chance to see my daughter this week. And then even though I said to her, I'm definitely going to Speaker's Corner, like all that stuff, it just turned into a yeah, mom sort of event. But it was good to see her actually. So, right, I will definitely be editing this bit out, or maybe I'll just leave this here and edit it and stick it on the other channel for the actual people who just care about refuting oneness. But yeah. Right. Last orders, gentlemen, because it ain't going to be a snappy video. Oh, she tried to pick it up with the wrong hand. Bad. You don't realise what you've got. This is true in all areas of life. You don't realise what you've got until you haven't got it. That includes the use of your limbs, like just anything. You know, like if you pull a muscle, you realise how many times a day you use that muscle or anything. Friends, family, like you don't realise until it's not there. And it's so bizarre because the human brain is like capable of grasping like really complex metaphysical constructs, and then you can't remember. Like, so bizarre. Like intellectually you can know it. I was thinking it last night. I was thinking I've got a limited, we all have, I don't want to spoiler alert if you, a limited number of days left on this planet. And then an even smaller number of those limited days when I can do, please God, anything about anything. You know, like if you live to 95, like unless you're like pretty unusual, you're basically slippers, bed, like feet up. I don't know, Judge Judy. I'm thinking of mine now. But yeah, so an even more limited number of days in which to make a difference with the things that you're passionate about. And that could just be spending time with your family or just stopping to appreciate that, like, yeah, like the absolute wonder of like the beauty of life, the awesomeness. Come back to me when I'm feeling depressed and I won't be saying this still, but you know what I mean? Like, you wouldn't, if someone, I said it in a post, if someone told you had 21 days left to live, there's no way you would spend, I don't feel like you would spend any of those days just staring at the wall or watching reruns of something on your computer or just scratching. Like you would be up, you'd be like, even you might be like a little sightseer in your own town. I only ever get to go sightseeing when I've got visitors from abroad. Like other than that, I just walk past it. I'm like, oh, too cool for school. That's my problem. But yeah. Yeah, Carol, I got a friend who's got part of her leg missing. And it's the itching, apparently. That's been years, but you can get a phantom itch. And I just saw I just remembered an experiment that I saw. You get a prosthetic hand and your own hand, and you sort of cover up the wrists, as it were, and then someone gets like a feather and strokes at exactly the same time, both your hand and the fake. Eventually your brain starts identifying with the prosthetic and you can feel it. Shalom, Steve, or watcher, as I like to translate it. And the phantom pain thing is bizarro world, but better than that, because I was talking about that the other day, is phantom hand syndrome. Please YouTube it as soon as you get off this like stream. It's the most bizarre thing. The guy was waking up, his own hand was trying to strangle him. It's funny if it's not you, kind of thing. Like, or if it's not someone you're trying to work with. But also, he would brush his hair in the morning, bless his little gods. And then his own hand would mess it all up. His own hand was shoplifting. The hand he was in control of was giving it back, saying, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. And it was just nicking it again. It's not funny, but it is. It's like complete disassociation, like a person, like, is it the Addams Family or the Monsters? What the thing, just the hand in the box? Yeah, something like that, Jeff. But yeah, that's, I'd say mental, but I don't mean it in a derogatory way. I mean, like, that's mad. No, that's still the same word. That's strangely, interestingly unusual kind of thing. Phantom hand syndrome. Promise. Imagine that. It's one thing, you know, I sometimes feel that there's a small part of me that's pulling in an opposite direction, as it were. But that's just taking the biscuit. And it probably does take the biscuit right out of his mouth. Can you believe it? That's it. Oh, my God. I knew someone would be in there with the knowledge. Whoa, Ivan. Where'd that come from, love? Sorry, was that apropos of nothing, as it were? Apropos? APROPOS. I'll stop using the long words. I'm going to just say, was that out of the blue, off the cuff? Or was there a conversation that was going on about euthanasia? Sorry, I just... Carol, there's another one that's just reminded me. It's really interesting. I wonder how these syndromes, I mean, they must have been prevalent before like modern psychology came along, and I can't think of the name of it. to cut a long story short, there's the visual like processing center of your brain, and there's the auditory processing center. So and then it connects with your feelings, as it were, your emotions, your amygdala. So you, for example, I might even use Modine here. Yeah, you see someone and you hear them, and a bit of you goes, oh no, or it goes, oh, I love, like you see your mum, you go, and you just automatically, you feel the connection. It not consciously, but you just know, oh, that's my mum over there, kind of thing. Or you can just hear them, and hold on, that's my mum. So even though I did answer to a random mum in the shop the other day, but yeah, that's not the point. The point is that there's some damage that can occur to the visual cortex that takes the information from the retina, flips it around, puts it into the like the recognition software. I don't know. This is the long and short of it. They wake up in the morning and it's a repeated phenomenon. They wake up, they look to the left or the right, they see their partner, husband, wife, I don't know who they are, like random. Can't be random. They have to know them. And they don't visually recognize them. And this is the mad bit. Mostly they assume, so they see them, but they don't get the connecting feeling that's attached. And their brain then automatically, a bit premature to my mind, says it's an alien, it's an actor, it's a doppelganger, it's not my anyone, whoever it's supposed to be, it's not my one, it's a fake one. And they can attack them, they can get really distressed, and like as you would if you woke up and there's just a fake your mum in the kitchen doing breakfast or whatever. This is the more interesting part to my mind, which is a bit weird, I must admit. My mind, is that if they take them out of the physical proximity to the person and put them on the phone to them, they will know it's the real one because they're here, like their auditory processing is still intact. So it's just the seeing them. But I start thinking about, well, sometimes in the night these things like cross my mind, and yeah, body snatchers. And I feel like, what did they do in medieval times apart from burn them? It was the most popular way of just dispatching with people. But there's there's even myths and legends like changelings. So unfortunately, this was most probably used with severely handicapped babies and stuff. But people would confidently and assuredly assert that their baby had been swapped for a different one in the night. And I don't know whether that was to do with the syndrome that I can't think of. The thing that I was just explaining, or because they were just because they now assumed it was like an elf or gremlin, goblin. It's Ireland, in mythology wise. Yeah, they just dash them on the fire, whatever. I don't know, kill them. But yeah. Yeah, but Mr. Brand, this is we're talking I don't know, 1600s, 1500s foot. I don't mean intentional. Do you know what I mean? They just go, I don't know, the baby develops some sort of physical deformity or disability. Progeria, imagine that. The one where they look really, really prematurely old. They'd just be straight out on the bonfire, as it were. But I do find all of this stuff interesting. Really do. It's no surprise because it's what I also find theology interesting. Oh yeah, back to phantom pain or false pain or whatever it is. There are people nowadays, don't forget that your truth is the only truth that's worth legislating for, or whatever it is. Whatever you say must be true, even if you identify as a toaster. I don't know, someone's got to bring the bread round. But yeah, so there's people who've had operations and dismemberments, they've had amputations because I'm not saying it's not real, they feel the pain, constant pain, or I don't know, exacerbated pain that's got no physical, the nerve endings are not being stimulated. It really is, Anna. Imagine this, the human brain, you can be hypnotized to bite into a raw onion. Now think about the taste, the texture, the smell. And your brain can be programmed to taste and believe that you're biting into a cherry or a strawberry. That's how strong your mind is. That's why we have to take our thoughts captive. It's not all when this music plays, you think you're a chicken or you're Elvis or you're an alien Elvis and you're speaking Martian. Like hypnosis it can be really. Mr. Brad, I'm so glad I'm going to make a video about this because I feel like, when you feel like the top 2% of the IQ bandwidth just on that question. I know what woman is. Easy peasy. I mean, I'll try and string it out to 30 seconds when I make the vid, but I feel like it's like the Emperor's New Clothes. That's exactly what it is. Everyone's scared to shout out, he's buck naked. And Ricky Gervais, I thought that was hilarious when he said, he was saying, he said, I love women, especially the ones with testicles, or these old lot with like ovaries. I love new women. And then he said, and then you got these people who say, no, you have to have a uterus to be a woman, the bigots. And he's sort of doing like it, playing out, what the conversation between them is. And he says, well, that's his female voice. He says, well, it's not a woman. And we don't want them in our, I don't know, J.G. Rubs. He says, why not, you bigot? He's like, well, he might rape us. Sorry. And Ricky Gervais says, she might rape you, you bigot. And it's just cracked me up. Like, it's just silly. And now, obviously, he's being tarnished. It's not that much of an insult, but now apparently he's a poster boy for the far right. I know. I literally heard duh, duh, duh in my head then, because can you imagine people running about nonsense kids, but your political views are supposedly the most important thing about you. Just a joke. Sorry, I just killed my own little laugh then because I just got serious and thought, all right, Jim, what a load of old shiz. You can't even say balls to it because that's probably hate speech for people who want balls but haven't got balls. I feel like these people need some real problems. I'm not wishing real problems on them, but you got to have a lot of time on your hands to be saying that it's transphobic to say that only women have a womb. Get a grip. Have a look out the window. Something like that. Onion, Jeff, I think I've got the tail end. I don't even know. Oh, no, it's definitely an onion. If you're talking London. Also, Deuteronomy 23:1 is something you could pull out of the bag, as it were. Any man who crushes his stones, I feel like that's a bit of a nod and a wink, or severs his privy member, we're going to go with the KJB, even though they mean penis, will not enter into the assembly of God. I mean, just for that reason alone, have a little think about it. Like the couple of years counselling and the, I don't know, little slap in the face and whatever. If you want to do it, not you people, not you personally, but I literally got no issue with people having gender reassignment and stuff like that, or if they've got gender dysphoria, I've got sympathy. But I can't be corralled into joining you in your mental illness. Whatever mental illness you've got going on, I've got enough of my own stuff going on. You wouldn't do it with a schizophrenic. You wouldn't validate the delusions. You just wouldn't do it because it's not fair. It's not professional and it's not helpful. So why would you declassify gender dysphoria? I don't understand it, other than a massive global antichrist agenda, obviously. But other than that, I don't get it. Because the suicide rates are so similar, pre and post-op. And why would the suicide rates be so much higher if it's not a disorder? Let's put it nicely, because mental illness does sound a bit that kind of, I don't know what that noise meant, but it meant dun, 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 that one. Anyway, I don't know where this vid's gone, this question and answers, but yeah. Cherokee, it should be. When you move to my country, we shall start a gentleman's club and we shall call it exactly that. That is what we shall do. It's on my list of imaginary plans. It isn't yet, but I'm going to write it down. I saw him. Yesterday, funny enough, I just passed him in the street. So odd that you should ask that. I can't remember his name. It's not Nadia. No, I might have just made that up, so I don't know. But yeah, they're fine. Yeah. So that was nice to see. Always just quite smartly as well. Yeah, that's another what's the word? Consequence of mental difficulties and the stigma, Ivan, around like depression and suicidal ideation and stuff. It's really, yeah, it's a shame because we've all got time and taxpayers' money to spend on gender real. Yeah, take it out of your own pocket if your skirt has pockets in it, kind of thing. Know what I mean? Anyway, yeah, I don't mind it, Jeff. I seriously don't mind who denies their own reality. Deny mine if you really feel like it, but I'm not getting involved. Nah. No, I'm old-fashioned like that. Like just years and years and years of visually identifying men by like Adam's apple, penises. It depends what kind of party it is, obviously, but just like a broader shoulders, I don't know, narrower hips. Now everyone's meant to just no, I ain't doing it. I'm not doing it. No one's asked me to do it. Well, they have actually. People who menstruate. Do you know what that is? That's a woman. In case you're not up with the Orwellian correct speech. Exactly, Jeff. Exactamundo. Anywho, any more? We're up to 52 mins, but it will be far shorter. I don't know. There's some women. Jeff, technically, if you want to get carried away, like Facebook's got 72, but there are 3, as in like hermaphroditism. I don't think I pronounced that properly. Yeah, like undetermined or like I don't know what you would call it. Yeah, but I've seen some pretty decent beards on women, but only occasionally. We'll go with children. Although, if you're a migrant and you rock up with 20 snat and an iPhone and a big massive beard, but no teeth for the dental records, and no paperwork, you can confidently identify as a 12-year-old or whatever, and they're just like, sweet. And which hotel do you want? I like a fruit armor. You know where you are with fruit. Anna, I think it's absolute madness. I think they've got... they took the word women out of cervical smear test literature, cervical cancer prevention literature. Because I tell you what's more important than preventing women developing full-scale cervical cancer, obviously, it's the feelings of men who would like to be women. And while I'm on the subject, I'm tending to my dad, while I'm on the subject, transgender people, more than anybody, the first wave or the old school, because nowadays who knows what these nutters are all about. But the original transgender people who paved the way for the other LGBTQP3POC/2 oneness, one love, one body, spirit, pedo nonsense. I'll take the pedo off. I already did the P. The point is, the original transgender people definitely affirm there are genders. There is such a thing as a woman, because you can imagine him going, hold on, that's what I want to be. How can you go for counselling and say you identify as a woman, as a man, when some new age transgender person is going to pop up and go, you hate speech, preacher, blah, blah, blah. There's definitely such a thing as a woman, because men with gender dysphoria would like to become women or be identified as women. I don't mind if they get to be identified, but not on a birth certificate, not on a passport. Let's not get carried away. We've gone well past Sodom and Gomorrah, Mr. Brown. I mean, I'm not dismissing like they're, but that was only. That was adults for a start. All right, Chad. Yeah, I'm getting there. Thank you. Yeah, Sodom and Gomorrah. I mean, we make them look like basically weekend amateurs, you know, out on the lash. Yeah, because they are legion. Yeah. There's definitely an antichrist like vibe. Anything that the Bible stands for is you can just safely assume that somewhere it's being posited as hateful, Mr. Brown. Just anything. Just monogamy, don't murder people, children. Like if you harm a child, you'd be better off with a big stone around your neck dashed in the water, that kind of thing. Who knew? Oh no, let's give them hormone treatment that can't really be reversed. Oh my gosh, America, you freaks. Not you people. But yeah, there was a woman who wanted to put her, I think it was 6. It's not even the 6. Oh, anyway, the little boy up for gender reassignment or hormone because obviously at 6, my daughter was still thought like George from Peppa Pig was living behind down the side of the sofa, around like a bit younger than that. I didn't call the farm to come and get him. Anyway, yeah, so she's saying the father's going absolutely garrity, like beside himself, like taking her to court and everything. The little boy said, "No, you're all right, Mum." I don't know how he said it. He said, "No, thank you. Don't really want to be a girl. Lots of love, thanks." And the judge upheld it and said, "No, you crack on your mental illness." No, he didn't call it that. But yeah. Stop me. I'm getting annoyed. Yeah, that's Trinity. Like that. I'm not. Yeah, they can get on with it. It's easy enough if you're in well, maybe easier if you're in an Islamic country because you can wear a niqab. Who knows who's under there? But yeah, Mr. Brown, that sounds suspiciously like friendly in a theological way. I'm guessing. There's some polemics in there. I'd say I'll have a look, but my watch later list is getting to be a joke now. This is how I thin it out now to get it back under 200 videos. I make new playlists. I don't ever delete anything because I can't get around to watching it. So I just reassign them other playlists. And just because the watch later one looks little, i.e. 199 videos to go. Sorry, Steve, you waiting for your dinner, babes? Go on, I'm going to get off anyway. Oh, sorry. Just show you my big finger there. I don't even think they have to conjure them anymore, Jeff. I think they're just all on standby, like customer service should be. That sort of thing. Yeah, I know, without the consent of parents. That's the main aim of it. It's somehow weirdly paedophilic, i.e., consent. What's consent? Yeah, consent don't mean anything apparently nowadays. Sorry, Baz, I'm just about to go, babes, but it was. Baz, it was. I promise it was, up until about 24 minutes in. And then it all went sideways, pear-shaped, if that's not hate speech against non-pear-shaped women / I can't even say female. Humans of I don't even know. I can't make it up as well as they do. I know it is, time will tell. I know. That's what's so sinister. That's the bit where your blood goes cold when you see that it's not just a little flash in the pan, that it's just the stuff has been laid down. No, it was about refuting oneness within the pretext of John 14:9 and 10:30 to some extent. Yeah, we did a lot about the differentiation, the context, that like 5 exegetical kind of flashpoints. Okay, I guess. Thank you, Jeff. Love a well done. I don't know, Amra Good. I don't know about the context of what he's saying. He's not going to run out of patience. Like I mean, he's perfect at it. But yeah, time is running out for us, even if not for the world, but definitely for us, all of us. That's the cheerful kind of girl I am. I say cheerful, I mean person who menstruates. cheerful person who moves. That is an oxymoronic statement, if ever there was one. So let me just check this one out. Steve's starving. Cherokee's got the kettle on. My drink's nearly finished. And I can't bend me thumb. Apart from that, everything's rosy in the garden. I was talking about a Unitarian / modalistic framework because it's whomever uses that argument, Baz. But yeah, usually people who are saying Jesus is the Father as opposed to is the representation of the Father or is in the Father. Mr. Brown, I don't think I know enough about it. To my mind, like just off the top of my head, nothing to do with Israel really, but to name your whole movement after one of the deadliest sins is like a joke right there. And then some of the stuff I've seen at America, I mean, like obviously America's like a special category of its own, but so, and there's kids in buggies or strollers, depending on where you look, like just rank. And I mean rank, and I am a grown-up lady or person with a room or whatever. Like, I'm an actual adult, even though I'm trying to refute that even in my own head. Like, the adulthood. It's just nastiness. I'll tell you who did a good little walk around. Fleckus. His name is Fleccs. He does Fleckus talks. And he goes around to campuses where they're like protesting Shapiro, and he goes to the pride marches and he's just asking. He's so like friendly and that, and he's got a wooden spoon. That's his thing, like with the mic taped to it. But that's on my watch later list, funny enough. I might stick that in the comments. It's just the most outrageous nonsense. And he's going up to him asking, like, do you think this is all right for kids here then? Like, geezer, I feel like there's a sex act in it, but it's blurred out. In fact, I know there's a reach around kind of it. Sorry. Like event happening. And there's just kids there strung about. Scummy Scumville. I mean, whatever your kink is, like, don't get me wrong, none of my business. Literally none of my business. But why are they the only people who have to go out in the street with the glitter and the budgie smugglers and the what? Just dead doors. Get a hold of yourself. Stop being scuzzy. No, I didn't. Time will tell, but that sounds about right. Just we had a case, like, I can't think of the name of the place. It was a well-known social services muck-up where a load of children were taken from their parents on like really spurious allegations of and proof of abuse, and yet there's literally on camera that's sexual abuse in anyone's book, like knowingly taking your child to a sex club in effect. Like what but then again I forgot consent doesn't mean anything. What was I thinking? I'm such a bigot. I know, you know, since Brett Kavanaugh came in, Jeff, like it's all just gone a bit. I mean, just the madness that surrounded that circus, just trying to protect the abortion law, like just because he was a Catholic. That was embarrassing. That was embarrassing, that whole thing. Mr. Brown, I must have slept in that. I must have missed that and all the coverage of it. Not that I watch mainstream, but yeah, it's a good job I'm not that fit, really. I prefer to walk. At least you know, well, at least you know where the inside of your shoes have been, kind of thing. It is proper manky, but it's dressed up as a liberated, you know, sexual revolution stuff. So get over yourselves, you bigots, etc. Just, hey, I got one better for you, Cherokee. I think it's in New York. There's some little kid with eyelashes out there. I feel like he was about 10 at the time. Oh, I saw another video. Anyway, the first kid that I'm thinking of, he's like an actual drag act, actual little G-string, actual adults putting actual money in his actual. Yeah. And then I saw another one the other day, like a training camp for kids to just gyrate in front of just, what are we going to call them? potential paedophiles, or like is it just the act of attraction as opposed to the scumbags? But we have to pray for them, because if anyone needs it, they do, and we need to practice. So that's it, Desmond. Yeah, parents. We like to cook. So if I'm a person with a womb, it's not in a box, it's in my body. They can be, I don't know what you'd call them, but parents isn't the thing that springs to mind for me. Parents, in my mind, has got connotations of care, security, safety, you know, not pimping your kid out to pedos, just the little things. Just that old-fashioned, crazy kind of person I am, really. Yeah. Anna, we had people going around public libraries doing drag queen story hour with their actual genital, like very tight-fitting clothing for a man dressed up as a woman, but crossing and uncrossing their legs and teaching kids about gender. And they had it in Canada as well, obviously. And when Dore Love went into to give the geezer a bit of a mouthful, not even aggressively, just literally some Bible stuff. Oh, it was like Stockholm syndrome. All the mothers turned around and rounded on him as if he was being like. It's literally inverted. Reality is being inverted. Right, let me. Yeah, I guess that's the difference between maybe like I don't know. There are different, like you can paternity tests, for example, are only for like the father, whereas being a dad is different. You don't have to be related necessarily to be a dad to somebody, but to be their father, you have to be related, Ivan. So I'm saying the difference between a mum and a mother, as it were. Yeah. All right then, Tyrell, tell. Yeah. I feel like maybe I've done my stint here at an hour 7 mins, and I hate to do it, but maybe I'm going to wait 24 hours till the live chat's processed and then cut the video in half. Thanks, Abstract Illusion. I felt a bit shaky at the beginning. Then I went through all rightness, and now I'm out into paedophilia and little kids rubbing stuff in. I don't even want to keep reading. That's what we was already just talking about, John. Scumbags is what I like to shout randomly around my flat, like I got Tourette's. It does happen, believe me. Yeah, Baz, that's it. It's not hateful to say that there are differences in bone density, in bone sizing. It's just not. I don't really care if it becomes that way, because I always miss the meetings anyway. So I couldn't give a shiz. Don't care. Just not interested. Not when there's important things like statues getting pulled. They just want to rub out any evidence of the past so they can repeat it all again quicker. That's literally it. Got Winston Churchill, who literally fought the fascists, and then you've got Antifa, who are literally fascists but pretending to be anti-fascist, trying to be it'd make your head hurt if you. It's like the plot line to some really, really long, in my case, film. Oh, don't. Maybe I'll get that clip out. But Fleckus, yeah, if you just look for Fleckus, he seems like a nice guy. He's just he's more patient than I ever could be. But he manages to get him to say the most stupid things, like just by asking questions. It's a gift. It's a gift. No, I saw that comment, Ivan. That's why I did the distinguish, like, between mother and mother. Yeah. Yeah, just because you are, you have that familial relation, as in, that's why women actually who abuse children or kill children get much more severe sentencing, because of gender roles within society, because we expect and assume that women won't do those things, because girls are nurtured in a way, like, and naturally less, I don't know, less recourse to physical, like, aggression, as it were. But yeah, it's not necessarily the case, unfortunately. And also a lot of postpartum depression goes undiagnosed, and that can really like drive women pretty cuckoo. I'm not scared, abstract illusion. I have no phobias in the Islamo-homo area. I have the spider-o, if that's even a thing, insecto. I don't know. I don't like them, but I mean, they don't pay any rent, so I don't see why they should be in my house. Rodney, like, take a nap nowadays and it can all change, the political landscape. All the words get changed around again. Still can't say retard as far as I know, but yeah. Oh no, 100% there are female paedophiles and child killers. No, definitely, Jonathan. It's just that they're more unusual statistically, but then again, female criminals are more statistically unusual and not necessarily convicted, because women are convicted far quicker with less leniency than men, and they lose a lot more from custodial sentences. Like, that's just a fact, because oftentimes those women are like have children and a place, say, and they will lose those, whereas a man on a shorter sentence, for potentially a more violent crime, will be just in and out. And it, I'm not saying prison isn't quite tough for both of them, really. But then don't forget that in this country we put a transgender, I don't know which way around it was, a geezer in a women's prison and a rapist, because otherwise what's the point? Go big or go home. You will never guess what happened. They couldn't believe it anyway. He only raped someone while he was in that women's prison. I know. You're like, never would have seen that coming. Except obvious as the nose on his face. Let's say that. Evening, East London. You all right? I just went a bit Wiltshire. Don't know why. I'm all right, thanks, for. Got to be, ain't you? Really, life is too short, but it is. Yeah. If everyone could just not die, that would be great. Probably a bit busy on the tube, obviously, but yeah, just people who I know. That would be lovely. Thank you. No worries, Rory. I am literally just going. I said that when someone else just come in a minute ago. I think it was Baz, like 12, 15 minutes ago. I ain't seen no one for ages. But this is all going to get edited out, kind of thing. Oh, Jeff, I don't even want to okay. Oh, someone else did it. It's all right, actually. Yeah, it's one of them ones where everyone has to go, it's like the Emperor's New Clothes. You have to act surprised, or that's the thing. All this diversity nonsense, there's no diversity allowed. It's literally what they say is the opposite of what they want. Equality. There is no equality if you're like a straight white man or a Christian there is no equality. Let me silly. Ivan, I'm all right. Like some days are better than others. I've got my assignment to be avoiding now. My next one. Working on. So yeah, I may be doing more streams. Do you know what, abstract illusion? I think someone at the top of that shizzle heap, they see it. Like the irony of taking money from Soros for open borders or open society foundation, whatever that is, when he said his happy time was rounding up Jews as a Jew in the Second World War. You're like, what? Just madness. It is absolute madness. And if you start thinking that everything is like, that's usually what mad people think, that everyone else is mad. That kind of vibe. What I take solace in, apart from Jesus, obviously, and that stuff, is that if you would have told someone in a pub in East London 50 years ago that they could get nicked for saying that a geezer's a geezer, which means a man is a man for anyone who's not from London, they would have just laughed you out the pub. So please God, like, if we've got 50 left on the planet, which I'm assuming we do because of some of the prophecies, yeah, hopefully the point about revolutions is they revolve around, they come around again. So hopefully what is cultural becomes countercultural. Not hopefully, that is what happens. And then potentially 2 generations later, nobody wants to be like their grandparents, as it were. So maybe, you know, it's just all, it's most right left stuff is smoke and mirrors anyway. Not the essentials, like not the, you know, common decency. It's not that common though. But the other thing they try and make you do is they do the programming, literally the programming on TV. They make it so that you may feel sitting in your living room that you're an absolute bigot, and clearly everyone else accepts all this absolute twaddle, because they make it seem like there's overwhelming support. And the linguistics they use is the presuppositionals. The assumption is that clearly it's normal. Well, the word normal shouldn't be allowed either, because it implies that there's such a thing as abnormal. But yeah, not me, Baz, not till I've got this assignment out of the way and all that. It was a fabulous decade, East London. I'm not too sure about the ponchos or the flares though. I feel like maybe just think about the vibe as opposed to the aesthetics. The music was all right though. I'll give you that. It's time for deprogramming, Jeff. It's time for literally the same way you do with people in cults when they come out of cults. Anyone who hasn't already seen it, have a look at the video I made called what did I call it though? The Cult of Wokeness. That's not what I called it. Just put the word wokeness in with my nut like Psycho Films, and it's interesting psychological stuff about deprogramming people who join cults. And if you just think of it as, you know, if you just insert the different words in your own mind, like as in satanic, antichrist stuff, it's pretty standard. Right, I'm going to skedaddle, my little lovies, because I haven't had any dinner. I just had to double check whether I was lying, but no, I haven't. So thanks, Ivan. I got out of the bath, and then because of this injury, I'm finding it difficult to put my hair up. I know, the first world problems over here. Can you imagine? Nigerian suffering, what a joke. I can't put my hair up. I'm literally kidding. That's outrageous over there. It's absolutely disgusting. What's going on? And I've got, I did it for the members, but I put up a video of this church massacre, like the literal immediate after, like they're still laying on the, very difficult once you've seen. I mean, I've been seeing that sort of stuff for years now. Yes, years. But once you've seen it, and then someone like the guy at Speaker's Corner who said to me, "You can't talk about Nigeria and stuff, and you've never been there." This is the level of retard that we got there. Oh, yeah. Once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. I know it was, John. It's just naughty. Really, really bad. But yeah, that first picture I saw, that just never left me, and that was a still image. Nice. I will do, Rory. I will do. If you get a discount, they do some nice stuff. Okay. I've got to go because I have to pretend to do uni work. I don't mean pretend to you lot. I mean pretend to myself. I have to actually open the Word document. That always helps instead of planning it in your brain and then forgetting it. And I have to do some research. Fulani. I don't think the Fulani ever stopped about being at it again. All right, Islamo realist. Yeah, I feel like maybe they have a tea break every now and again. But at least, mainly, they've stopped being called herdsmen. They're just random. We're just herding some sheep. Oh, hang on a minute. No, we're doing a massacre. Right. Yeah, they're militants, most certainly. Anyway, thank you, Ivan. I'm going to take that as he beat me to it. He literally said, press the button. Okay, I've pressed the button. What of it? No, I'm joking. All right, it was lovely seeing your little names and your pictures and your stuffs. And if you haven't already, have a look at AP's little cartoon, episode 1. That just made me smile. Yeah, do that. Subscribe, press the button, click the thing. Be grateful for what God's given you. If you feel like he hasn't given you it yet, like ask Jesus into your life, that sort of thing. Make sure you've forgiven everyone before you ask for stuff in Jesus' name, because you have to let go of unforgiveness. One of the verses, I can't think which one it is. But yeah, if God can forgive you, who are you to hold a grudge? Doesn't mean you let them do it again. You haven't got to forget it. You've just got to forgive it. Okay. Baz, I hadn't thought of it quite like that. But yeah, I agree. Okay. I've got to press the button. I've got to. He's given me a lot too, Jeff. Abundance, you could call it, a cornucopia of grace. Definitely unmerited as well. Thanks, and a banana. I'm sure he'd appreciate that. You can drop him a comment saying I sent you there. That will really cheer him up. I can't, Jeff. I've got an almost empty glass and a hurty thumb and a note from my mum. But no, I do have to eat food because otherwise it's late-ish to be doing dinner in England. And I was up at Muslim o'clock, basically. I was up at, there was a 5 in the hour column. So, yeah. Right. See you all later. I'm going to press it. It's not an idle threat. I'm actually going to do it. All right. Lots of love. God bless you all. And please, God, I'll see you tomorrow/soon. All right. Laters. Bye.